So many of us are seeking a deeper understanding of the physical and unseen world around us, while trying to connect and understand ourselves. Seeking enlightenment, understanding of the paranormal, holistic options, whole body healing, the metaphysical, and finding a personal connection to a higher consciousness. Together, we will journey and seek understanding of our own soul's fulfillment and that which lies beyond the veil. If you found yourself here, trust this is the next step in your spiritual journey. Welcome to Soul Flight.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Soul Flight. I appreciate you tuning in. Hey, Rez, thank you for tuning in today. It's nice to see you. I'm glad you're here. I think you're going to like tonight's topic, Starseeds. We hear this a lot, and how many of us have been told, oh, you're an old soul, or oh, you're a starseed, or oh, you're empathic. And a lot of times we take that in, but we don't really understand why people are telling us that, or why maybe some things resonate with us. And so this is part of that education. This is part of trying to understand things. And that's why I'm really excited to talk about Starseeds and have a really wonderful person. You're going to enjoy talking to him. He's super knowledgeable on this. But before we get to that, I want to start, like I have been, with a postcard from Spirit. So I pulled a postcard from Spirit right before the show. And this is the postcard that I got for you guys. I kind of asked, what do the viewers need to hear today to start the show off? And the card is, you are fierce. So this is what it's my light's a little off tonight, so I apologize. And it says, dearest you, there is only one you, and you have a unique path and a special purpose. You're supposed to have specific experiences in this world and meet certain people, but then it is up to you how you live, how awake you choose to be, and how willing you are to grow and strip away what's false. Don't compare yourself to others. It's easy to think a person is happier just because their outside looks good according to society's standards, but you can't know anyone's internal experiences. Compare yourself only, this is a great point, to your past self. See how far you have come. Don't be distracted by what others are doing or accomplishing. Stay focused on what inspires you. That's how you get successful and find happiness. Want what you have now, not what someone else has. We love you immensely and know your journey ahead is sparkling with miracles and wondrous things. Trust. Loving you forever and ever. Hi, Dina. I'm so glad you tuned in. I hope that message found its home, and that is a really good reminder. A lot of times we look at other people, we see what they're accomplishing, and a lot of times, yes, we're happy, we are excited. Hi, Ellie, I'm so glad you're here to see them making these accomplishments, but sometimes that little part of our ego kind of starts nagging at us, and we wish it was our accomplishments. Look at how far you've come. We overlook so much of what we accomplish. Let's worry about our own journey and support others in theirs. Now, tonight's guest, I'm so excited, is Craig Sampo. He is amazing. And I loved how when we were talking backstage, he said he is a galactic ambassador with his knowledge and studies of Starseed. Please help me welcome Craig to the show. Hi, Craig.
Hi, Stephanie. It's
How
great to
are
be here.
you?
Thanks for having me on. I'm doing
Oh,
pretty good.
I'm so excited. We've had, in a couple of our meetings and runnings into each other, conversations about this. And I've wanted so long to have you on, and I'm so grateful that it has finally worked out.
Oh, I'm so excited for this. I'm a little nervous, but I'm really excited too.
Oh no, don't be nervous. Don't be nervous at all. Before we get into Starseed, because that's going to take us down a multitude of rabbit holes
Certainly.
and questions. Yeah, I know. And I know our viewers are going to be throwing in questions. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you get this interest in all the things you study, but especially starseeds?
Well, to be honest, I just kind of grew up with an innate interest in science and the
Right.
paranormal and extraterrestrial, all those kinds of wild things. I mean,
Yeah.
uh, I think it was Tuesday evenings, PBS would have that Nova program. My dad and I would always
Yes.
watch it. All kinds of science documentaries and whatnot. It just that, and I love to learn. I don't like to put boundaries on learning. So
Right.
that's kind of the biggest thing that brought me into the metaphysical realm.
Well, and you
Uh,
really have to have an open mind. When we look at science, I think a lot of people think people who enjoy science or scientists are very close minded, but you really have to have an open mind because science can be very limitless.
yeah, yeah, it really can be. I mean, I grew up I grew up in a religious household and being very scientific minded. I
Right.
always tried to find where they were playing off of each other because I mean,
I like
life
that.
is like that. It's a big dance. There are
Absolutely.
no bounds.
No.
I used to say growing up that science was the exploration of the creation of God,
Right.
which I mean, it really still is the way I
I
look at it.
like
I
that.
just put it
Yeah.
on a slightly bigger platter.
Right. Right. No, that's I think and I like that too because even in working in the metaphysical, I tend to be very not necessarily scientific, but I want to know and I want to understand. And so I think, in that knowledge, it opens up so many doors of like you said, different avenues because it's like you start learning about one thing and then it takes you to the next and things start to
Mhm.
hold hands and create a bigger picture.
The best kind of domino effect.
Yes, exactly. I love that. So now the big question, and I know a lot of, what people are here, and we do. I've been told so many times, "Oh, you're a star seed." And even growing up, you wonder, like, what is that? In my day and age, I couldn't just hop on Google and say, "Google, they said I'm a star seed. What does that mean?" So to the viewers, kind of in a nutshell, because it's not really a cut and dry topic, but what
Mhm.
are star seeds? If somebody's coming up to you and saying, "Oh, you're a star seed," what does that mean?
In a nutshell, is a starseed is a soul that originates from another planet or universe or star
Right,
system.
right.
And note I did say universe, not galaxy, because
Correct,
you can definitely come from a parallel universe as a
correct.
starseed.
And I like that, and that's, where these topics, I think, become mind-blowing for people, and I think that's why people can quickly become dismissive, because it's
Hmm.
a lot for our minds to think of, because we are so linear with our time, and we even though we live, in this universe, we have a hard time seeing out past. It might seem a million light years away, but we have a hard time thinking there might be something beyond that.
Yeah, yeah, we really do. I mean, that's one of the big reasons that the whole UFO topic is still such
Right.
a taboo. I mean, it's finally starting to come out of the woodwork and be more of a mainstream topic. That's not you're crazy if you talk about that. It's not like that
Absolutely.
anymore, as
Right.
much as it used to be anyway.
I always know, and I always wondered, even when I was younger, because, we sent people up in spaceships. And I used to laugh to myself and think, I wonder if there's someone on another planet somewhere going, "Oh my gosh, I just saw that UFO again." And
Mhm.
it's us out in exploration.
Yeah,
So I always think about that because I think how insignificant of our minds to think that we can be here all alone.
right. I mean, it's a I think the same thing too. Like the size of the universe, which is more terrifying, to find out that life is everywhere or that we're
Right.
completely alone? I think it's absolutely terrifying to think that there would be nobody but us.
Right.
That's
Right.
how many billions of light years of stuff to see. We'll
Absolutely.
never see it if we're the only ones.
Right. Right. And you get to that thought of this evolving life pattern. And especially when you talk about a soul coming from somewhere else. How, is that a type of reincarnation? Is that, a type of people will talk and say, well, it's because aliens came in and they mingled in with the humans. So where does that fall into play when somebody is a starseed? How do they get that genetic makeup?
You know, I've never had it posed in that way. That's a very good way to ask it too, because it's making my wheels turn a little bit. So I
I
didn't
like
think
it.
about it that way. Um, so the way I think about starseeds is more, they're the ones who came here from a different planet to kind of help with issues on the planet to help raise the vibration. Those are the
Right.
ones who more so came in maybe more recently in the past couple of lifetimes. But I do see all of that because realistically, everybody actually has extraterrestrial DNA.
Right.
And science is starting to show that because if you look at the research that's done in DNA, they say what, like 80% of it is junk DNA and can't be
Right.
explained or something like
Right.
that.
I was
I
just
don't remember
reading an article not that long ago, which I think it's really interesting you bring that up about that because, and having been in a field where DNA was really important to look at, and as you're seeing these things coming out, it's like, well, we can see all these markers, but how can we not identify where everything else is coming from?
because we haven't seen them yet.
Right.
We
Right.
haven't tested. Well, we haven't tested them yet.
Right.
Because, yeah, depending upon, and that's another rabbit hole, depending on who
Perspective.
you hear from,
Absolutely.
they we know what I've heard them say that the CIA has been in contact with like 20 different species or something like that. It's
Right.
been, I don't know, and some say more, some say less.
But what is the
All
point
of
of hiding it? I mean, if the genetic makeup is there, if the star seeds are here and all of these things are here, which I feel like a lot of them are, what really is the point in hiding it? What harm comes from saying, "Hey, your 3 times great grandfather came from the next galaxy over and was a Pleiadian." What what is wrong with that? I mean, I know I have family that come from other countries.
hmm That's pretty cool too. But
Right.
honestly, power structures.
Yeah.
Because if there's other people who are able to come here and help us with different problems from other
Right.
planets,
Right.
we don't need to rely on the power structures that be or the
Correct.
powers that were.
Right. The society outlines.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
on another side of that, some say that the powers that were extraterrestrial beings or controlled by ETs.
Right.
So, I mean, either way you look at it, it would crumble the power structures
It would.
because, yeah, they can't
So you think
control it
it's a
anymore. Somebody
control.
got to.
It's a form of control,
I
feeding and manipulating knowledge.
On the very deep, deep, dark end of it, yes,
Yeah.
because I mean, I can also see where it would be benefit to well, maybe used to be a benefit for
Right.
people because it is a big paradigm shift. I mean, even the starseed stuff, it forces you to come to terms with reincarnation and living
Right.
forever in a very
Right.
different sense than the Bible teaches us.
Absolutely.
And the biblical people, the Christians, the Jews, the Muslim, anybody who is stuck in just a book, it
The
changes the whole
text.
paradigm. Yeah,
It does. It does.
because it makes God so much bigger.
Right.
But the creation stories only talk about Earth. There is no
Right.
creation story that really talks about the rest of the universe.
No.
So it can be hard for some people to bring ETs into even
Right.
your standard religious pictures.
Absolutely.
So I see that as being something that they maybe did to save sanity of some people because I can understand why society might
Right.
freak out.
Well, yeah, and the human mind, it's
Yeah.
only we only use so much of it, but what we do use is only capable of comprehending so much.
hmm
And we are more concrete, where a lot of that really requires an abstract way of thinking.
Yeah.
There's been, and sometimes I laugh because I look at society and all the things that go on, and I'm like, half the time I'm convinced we are somebody's science experiment for their thesis, you know? I mean, are we really? And I remember taking psychology classes where they would talk about How do you know you're not living on the head of a pin? We
Yeah,
don't
really.
know. We don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, early on in my reading about extraterrestrials, that was still part of it. Like,
Right.
uh, we're the Elohim. We're not going to tell you where we're from, but we're going to tell you about you guys.
Right.
And everything that you're living in is just inside of a cell of a giant, giant being that is so big you can't even begin to comprehend it. Like,
Right.
what an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah, and we don't, and we don't know because we're catching up. In some ways, you look back. Hi, Pamela. Thank you for tuning in. You look back over time and the things that we've accomplished, and in some ways, we lost. There's gaps where we completely lost that knowledge.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, talking about the pyramids,
Right.
there's lots of scholars and engineers who would say it's hardly feasible to do the same thing with modern tools,
Right.
which sometimes does kind of boggle my mind. I'm like, but how? We've got lasers and new all
Right.
kinds of saws and cranes and whatnot. But
Yeah.
I mean, I guess like even just the Great Pyramids of Giza, some of those
Yes.
weighed like how many tons? One brick weighs more than some of the pylons we dig down for bridges. It's wild.
Absolutely. Sorry, that was the wrong button. I was trying to unmute. I'm like, where did I go?
Hey, at least you didn't end it.
Right. At least I wasn't like, bye, everybody. So, in just looking at Starseeds and kind of going back to where we started,
Yeah.
what does it mean, or what are some key points of you are a starseed? What are things people look for that entails?
So, one of the first and biggest things is you tend to be the black sheep of the family. Or Terry actually put it another way the other day, the white sheep, because sometimes
Right.
you're the only one of the family that's
Right.
doing well for yourself. But
Correct.
it could be either way, black sheep, white sheep,
Right.
whichever way you want to look at it. But based on the stereotypical definition of black sheep, you're the strange one, the weird one. You're always looking at
Right.
the weird things. One thing that occurred to me is maybe you find it easy to get along with lots of different people. You don't necessarily have a group. Like,
Correct.
me, for example, in school, I never really had a particular group that I stuck to.
Right.
I was always in and out
Floating.
of a bunch of different groups. I could kind of get along with almost anybody.
Yeah.
Um, so that's kind of another thing.
All right. I'm 2 for 2. I'm getting a little concerned. I'm keeping track.
Maybe you're very empathetic. That's a good one. Some strange part of you, when you think about where home is, Earth just doesn't quite feel like home. Like, you're here,
Right.
you live here,
Right.
but you just don't feel like this is where you're from or
Yeah.
where you're supposed to be. Like looking up at the stars and daydreaming, like, oh, and just feeling a longing of not just simply wanting to go to the stars, but to go
Right.
back.
Go back. Correct. Hi,
Because
Salone.
I've felt that sometimes,
Yeah.
and I've heard people say that too. Like, it's like I miss it,
It
but
does.
I
It
don't get
makes
it
sense.
because I'm on the Earth. I've never been to the
Right.
stars.
You miss
What
a place that you can't quite put your finger on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Starseeds sometimes say that animals are very drawn to them, or children. The thing you said earlier with the old soul, you feel like you're an old soul, or
Right.
people tell you that.
Yeah.
That perhaps you're wise beyond your years. Maybe you're even into conspiracy theories and documentaries, and they just
Right.
suck you in
Right.
because there's something
There's
more going
something
on,
there.
and
Yeah. And
everybody
that's
wants to know.
seems to be the tune of my life. And I like how you say that because it's always like, you ever think of like a memory or a lyric, right? That's kind of rattling in your head and you can hear the song, but you can't quite remember what the right words are, and you can almost recall it, but then it kind of gets lost coming to the forefront.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how so many things are like even within my life, like weird memories I can't quite recall, or things you can't quite be like, oh, this really feels like an experience, but why can't I recall it?
Yeah, that's a good one. That's the next one I was actually going to touch on was
Uh-oh.
memories of living on another planet or
Right.
those kinds of things. The memories that you can't quite put your finger on.
And so what are they here for though? We can look, and I mean I can sit here and I can even look at some of the people who have jumped in and commented, and I'm like, "Oh, that would fit them, that fits me."
Hmm.
What are star seeds here for? What is the purpose?
So the biggest push for starseeds arriving on this planet was really when humans discovered nuclear energy. And not only that, but when we weaponized it.
Correct.
Because ETs have been watching our planet for longer than humans have been here.
Right.
Um, and they've seen the cycle. They know that we tend to do that. We figure something else out. And, oh, let's make a weapon out of it.
Right.
Fire. We made
Right.
flaming arrows.
Right.
We learned how to make tools, so we made swords. Like, why did,
Right.
and we did the same thing with the the highest energy potential that we could find.
Mhm.
I mean, we've all heard it said that there are enough nukes on this planet to
Right.
obliterate the entire planet.
Right.
We could pulverize this rock
Which
so
is
much that we
horrifying.
would never know that it existed.
Right.
And that's happened on Mars. Perhaps.
Perhaps. Well, and
But
and that's just it. And that's again where I'm like, are we an experiment? Are they like, well, let's see what they do to destroy themselves this time? Are
that
we
very well could
supposed
be part
to
of it.
get out of that habit of self-destruction?
And that's where the starseeds come in. So the first nuke to go off, some scientists theorize that I mean, we don't really know what we could have just done, but maybe we ripped a hole in space-time. Well,
Right.
kind of did, because it sent a ripple across the universe, and all of the other star systems, especially the ones nearby, because well, they're the closest and have been watching us the
Right.
closest. We're like, oh man, this isn't very good for humanity, because if they leave the planet with this mentality, that could be the end of the rest of us.
Right.
Because we've seen all the alien movies.
Oh,
Humans tend to
absolutely.
be the ones who are going and pillaging and conquering other planets and killing
Right.
all the aliens.
Right.
Well, they don't want that. Nobody
No.
wants that anymore.
Nobody wants that.
And that's kind of the thing. So lots of souls started to volunteer to come here. So if you do resonate with being a starseed, no matter how much you think it sucks, you wanted to
Right.
come here. And that's a really hard part of it to
It
understand, or
is.
to not, I guess,
Right.
understand, but to understand and kind of come to terms with, because I've seen people in starseed groups that are like, this sucks. I don't want to be here anymore. I don't know why I signed
Absolutely.
up for this.
Well, and I
But
think we have that even just in coming back to Earth and deciding, hey, we want to come back to Earth. And I often
mhm,
joke because I'm like, is there a used car salesman on the other side that's like, hey, go back to Earth this time? This time it's going to be great. The wheels won't fall off. I'm like, because
mhm,
who wants to go through some of the things that we go through?
right? But I guess that's another part about the star seeds, is
Right.
that on the other side, they're a soul that has been through more evolution.
Right. That makes
So
sense.
when you're on the other side, people have said that you see the bigger picture more. So you get what's going on, you get what's coming,
Right.
you know where it's been and where
Right.
it's going, whatever it is. It, in this case, being human civilization on this
Sure.
planet in particular. And so, really, star seeds are here to help uplift the planet, to raise the vibration, to help people see that fighting each other isn't the only way to solve our problems.
No. No,
Because
gosh, no.
fighting each other doesn't solve our problems,
It
it makes more
doesn't.
problems.
So
Because
if Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
it was, I found a quote not too long before coming on here. Oh, no, I just got to pull it up real quick, because it was about war in particular that um, Oh, there, I found it. By Walter Cronkite. He says,
Mm,
war itself, of course, is a form of madness.
yeah,
It's hardly a civilized pursuit. It's amazing how we spend so much time and money inventing devices to kill each other and so little time working on how to achieve peace. And then
absolutely.
that's the big place of Starseeds, is to
Oh, for
help
sure.
inspire that peace to start rolling on in.
If you look though, and looking back at that theory with the first nuclear explosion, so that was in 45-ish, right?
I, th-
1945-ish.
I think so. Yeah.
And
So,
looking at go ahead.
oh no, you go ahead. Go ahead.
No, and looking at society coming forward, are we are I say are we, but are starseeds not doing their jobs? I feel like we're kind of de-evolving. Does that make sense?
Well, that's where the linear human mindset kind of steps in, because this is not a linear process. Well, it is a
True.
linear process, I guess, for us here.
Right.
Um, for us, it seems like it's taking so much longer than it's supposed to,
Right.
because, I mean, everybody keeps saying it's going to happen in this lifetime, it's going to happen in this lifetime, and all that. But we we're a result-oriented society. We want to see the
Yes.
results now. And I mean, even Greta Thunberg, how many years has she been going out and talking about uh, how to do better for the planet and go
Right.
green and work with nature, not against
Yeah.
nature? And we're still not seeing the results yet. I mean,
No.
yeah, there's still stuff that's trying to come down the pike, but we're also
Right.
noticing that it's not as easy. There are
Right.
some bottlenecks in going green that we didn't realize were
Yes.
there,
Yeah.
getting some of the materials.
Right.
And there's so many people, back to the starseed side of things and growing peace on the planet, is there are still so many people who are just ingrained and just um, programmed, if you will,
Right.
into the way the world has been, that they don't want to see it any other way. They don't know how to see it any other way, because they're
Right.
programmed to put up the walls. Like, it can't be any other way.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's definitely a slow process.
It is. It feels like it takes forever. And Salone says to evolve, we need to devolve to rebuild, and time is endless and instantaneous all at once.
That's a beautiful comment. I really
Yeah,
like that.
I do too.
And
If
because the more light comes, especially, the more darkness we're going to see.
and that's what I was going to ask. We have this light, and the star seeds coming. Are planets sending other beings here to kind of wreck the party?
That's quite possible too. That is very possible. I mean, frankly, those are probably the ones who are trying to keep all the secrecy this entire time anyway.
Right, right.
Um, a really good example of that is actually in a TV show. I don't know if anybody has watched American Horror Stories, but in
Mm,
one of the more recent seasons, there's a 4-episode partial season. They call it like a double feature season or something.
okay,
But um, Valiant Thor is part of it, and the Greys are part of it. The
okay.
tall Greys are part of it,
Yes,
and they're two sides of the coin. Valiant Thor kind of represents the good guys, and then the Greys are the ones
right.
that make a deal with humans. We'll trade you technology if you trade us humans for our genetic experiments. We'll give you
Interesting.
technology if you let us abduct your people. We'll wipe their minds to make it a little bit less traumatic for them, but we're going to do it,
Interesting.
kind of a thing. And it was that kind of eye-opening, really, to watch that, because it's similar to a lot of things that I've heard government officials say who have actually told their story
Right.
and been like, there's a bit more going on than people may want to see.
There
So
is.
exactly.
That I agree with. Yeah, absolutely.
And I
That's
mean,
very
even from other
interesting.
dimensions who might not even be involved with that, that's absolutely likely.
Yeah,
Because a lot of people say it's a battle between the light and the dark,
it is.
sort, but
And
it's
yeah, and
balanced too.
it is. And that's just it. How do you get that balance? You really need one to have the other, but it has to come into a balance. On
Yes.
that note, I think that's a good note to take a quick break. Please, if you're watching and you have questions about starseeds or questions about the topic that you want to shoot to Craig, jump in on this conversation, send us over your comments, and we'll be right back in about 2 minutes.
Are you interested in the paranormal, ghosts, spirits, and the metaphysical? How about Mothman, Bigfoot, and other cryptids? What about UFOs, UAPs, and other anomalous phenomenon? Then you need to check out Cryptids, Anomalies, and the Paranormal Society. We have all that and more. Watch our series, Cap's Road Trip, where we travel across the U.S. in search of these phenomena and bring you not only the history of these locations, events, and encounters, but evidence that we capture along the way. Alongside our team of researchers and investigators, you never know who will be joining in on the investigations. Are you interested in Bigfoot in Upper Michigan? Check out Finding Heighten, a series documenting the Sasquatch activity on a very special 80-acre property just outside of Menominee that has been a hotspot since 2012. Want even more? Check out our podcasts. Whispers from the Dark is the official podcast of Cryptids, Anomalies, and the Paranormal Society and brings you interviews with the top names in the field of paranormal to cryptids and more. Hear witnesses' accounts and go in depth with the CAPS team to hear more about our ongoing research. Are you more into cryptids? Find links to our All Cryptid show, Monsters on the Edge, on the Untold Radio Network. If you're into spooky, subscribe now and you won't miss a minute of our brand new series coming soon, Spirits of Macville. Follow along as we uncover the haunted history dating back to 1877 of a very well-known location you may have never guessed would be haunted. Head on over to YouTube and hit that subscribe button and you won't miss a minute.
Hey everybody, welcome back. If you are just tuning in, we are having a conversation with Craig about starseeds and kind of, what that looks like and people's different theories on that. And we really invite you to jump in on our conversation. Feel free to jump in the comments if you have any questions about starseeds or really anything. I think we're open to discussing any topic that you guys feel like throwing in.
Oh yeah.
So back to I'm like, just throw in the topics. Back to the starseeds. We kind of talked about what we think the purpose of them coming here was. And as we were talking about that, and it kind of took me back to that DNA and looking at, the theories of the nukes and everything else. In that time, do you really think that there are any true humans left on Earth?
That's a really good question, actually. Probably.
Yeah.
I think it's I'll take that back. I mean, with how fast the population has been growing,
Right.
and just our borders are so open now. Well, quote unquote open. Of course, not all of them are, but we're able to travel with a bit more ease because of modern technology.
Yes.
We can meet people we've never met before.
Right.
Maybe not. It's possible, I guess, but maybe not.
Because I try to look like what would, hypothetically, if this is going on, what would a human look like? Or, ideology wise, how and that would be the point, I think, if you're sending in these souls from other areas. You don't want to be noticed, you want to blend in.
Yeah, I mean, if you really take a step back, this particular human form, the Homo sapiens sapien form,
right,
it's a lot more prevalent in the universe, it would appear, than we would think.
right.
The Lyrans, actually, from the stars, the star of Vega.
So educate us on that a little bit.
So in terms of our local stellar neighborhood.
Okay.
Lyra is where humans started,
Okay.
really. Um, they were kind of a co-founded creation from the avian people, or we would call them the avian Lyrans,
Okay.
and the feline Lyrans,
Okay.
that they came from another universe because they played out their game or got creative and wanted
Right.
to create life in a different universe. So they popped in here, and then this is what they came up with, is the human form. So then, through various series of wars, the Lyrans would have been warring with the Draco, because the Draco came, the negative Draco anyway, came from a different universe as well.
Okay.
Maybe that one's a little more fuzzy. Maybe they came
Right.
from a different
Right.
galaxy, but they came to our neck of the woods and found Lyra. Said, "Whoa, this civilization is like awesome. I mean, it's perfect. They've got all
Right.
kinds of resources," which was their kicker.
Right.
They're like,
Resources.
"Hey, Lyrans, we see you guys have a lot of resources that we could benefit from. So let's, like we were saying earlier with the Greys and perhaps Earth governments, maybe
Right.
they were like, we'll trade our technology if we can take some of your resources." And they eventually were like, we're not going to honor this agreement. And they
Right.
just started annihilating the Lyrans. So the Lyrans, they left in droves, the ones that were able to escape. Millions upon millions died. And then they scattered across the stars.
So
Some
is
of them
this
went to the
all just a
Pleiades.
big war of worlds?
Kind of. It's not going on anymore, but it's definitely, uh, yeah, it was definitely a War of the Worlds.
Yeah.
The Draco just wanted the resources. They didn't care about who was living on the planet.
Right.
They wanted to suck the planet dry of its resources.
Right.
So, the Lyrans left to the Pleiades. I think the Arcturians helped some escape too. They went to Orion. They went to Sirius, all over the place. So that kind of spurred a big melting pot movement, if you will,
Right.
for local stars.
Do you think, and I don't know why this popped in my head now, but the constellations, do you think those are just roadmaps home for the starseeds?
Probably,
Yeah.
now that you mention it, yeah. Because if you go and ask a lot of the native folk,
Right.
especially the Polynesians in Hawaii and the
Okay.
Aborigine in Australia, they have very similar origin stories. They will
Interesting.
both tell you that they came
Right.
from the stars, and all of the constellations that they draw, where they come from, is the
Right.
Pleiades star cluster.
Interesting. I like that.
Yeah,
And and because I find religions in and of themselves fascinating.
they really
And you have a good point. When we do look at legends and religions, even what we consider, mythologies, a lot of the stories align in very important ways.
they
Some
do.
of the names are different, some of the ideologies are different, but the stories really do align very consistently.
They do. It's startling the more you really read it.
It is, and it's fascinating. And Sloan says, so with the different legends and lores from the Greek, Roman, and Norse, would that mean the gods are actually members of the starseed? What are your thoughts?
I don't know if I would call the gods star seeds.
Right.
But that is definitely a big topic that is covered in the starseed area, because the Greek, the Norse, the Roman, they're all really the same,
Yeah.
just with different names. And
Right.
you can even throw the Mayans and the Aztecs
You
in
can.
there too. They're the same group. It's just the Anunnaki, which is really more a term that's kind of like Elohim, those that came from the sky.
Right.
Um, their planet was dying. They came to Earth because we had resources that their planet needed, and they saw it was really cool down here. So a lot of them came down and took rulership over colonies of humans. Some of them created humans
Right.
and then were their literal God because I created you out of the dirt of the
Correct.
earth.
Yes.
But they took up major residence in different areas of the globe. So that's why they're all by different names,
Right.
and all the different cultures will have a different god or deity that they pray to.
Right. That's an
So,
interesting thought.
like Odin and Zeus are the same person.
Right.
Or this,
Right.
yeah, person. It's a being, not a god. They're only a god because they can do more than we can do,
Right.
which we're actually reaching their status, really, especially with the way science is going.
And is that part of the evolution though? Is that part, and even if you look at it from the simplest terms and looking at it from a metaphysical aspect of we come back to learn and for our soul to grow, is that not the point to get closer to that understanding? Even in religion, you want to be in align with God. You want to be,
Mhm.
those
Yeah,
things. So could that not be the point?
it very well could be. Although, in terms of the Anunnaki specifically, it's hard to say because they really wanted control.
Right.
But I guess there we go, is the learning aspect.
Right.
The leaders at that time, they controlled.
Yeah.
If you didn't do what they wanted to do or you to do, they killed
Right.
you.
Right. Yeah.
And even throughout human civilization, we definitely see those themes continuing.
We do. And that brings me to Dina's question, because she says if all of us are starseeds, how we were talking earlier, is there any origins of what was on this planet left? Maybe not even humans. I'm hearing origins of what was left on this planet. Why then, if we're all at some point have this starseed DNA, are we
Mhm.
still trying to kill each other?
Because there's not enough people at a high enough vibration.
Yeah. I
But we're
like that
getting there.
answer. I like
We're
that answer.
we're getting there though, for sure. Because
Yeah.
I mean, yes, there's still turmoil. I mean, the Israel thing, that's been going on since,
Forever.
oh man, yeah, over
Forever.
2,000 years.
Yeah.
It literally goes back to the time of Jesus
Yeah.
and before.
Yeah.
But so some of it is still just a historical thing. There's just definitely a lot more into that. That's a whole another rabbit hole.
Right.
But even with the turmoil that has occurred in the last 20 years,
Yeah.
it's sort of tapered off a little bit. I mean, yeah, we've gotten high tech, so it's
Sure.
easier to pinpoint the people they're looking for, I guess. But
Yeah.
yeah, we're starting to see change.
Yeah.
And again, before it's always darkest before the light.
That's
So
true.
it's definitely going to still feel like it's taking too long because we're seeing more dark that we didn't see before.
Right.
But it's a learning curve. It's a learning curve for all of us.
And this kind of popped into, and before we kind of shift gears, but do you think, we talk about, and we talked and saying it's always darkest before the light, and we've talked about, in religion and the world ending, and it's always going to happen within our time frame. But if you think about it, every generation has had a defining moment, whether it was the Spanish flu, whether it's, whatever it is. And in all of our lifetimes, we do see an ending moment of what we know as the physical realm.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that is part of it, or do you feel like eventually Earth will exist no more?
Well, I've heard it said by a few different people, and it really does resonate with me that the ultimate destiny of a planet is to become a star.
Right.
Because all a star does is emit light.
Right.
And that's what our goal is to be the light.
Yeah.
We want to bring light and love and warmth to anybody we can.
Yeah.
And then once we get there as a planet, well, we already love each other. So then, okay, what's next? Well,
what's next?
A star can easily spread love to any planet in any direction. It's not it's not a flat plane. Space is
Right.
everywhere.
I like that. And I think people need to shut out the lights, get out from the luminescence of the city, and really just reconnect.
Yeah,
Let the
absolutely.
love of the stars shine, right? Let the
Mhm.
love of the stars shine.
Take your
Steve-
shoes off and look up.
Yes, and relax. Before we let you go, and I really am, I want to be in touch because this is such a in-depth topic that we really have only scraped
Oh, you
the
got that right.
surface. And so I'd love to have you on again in the future to have these conversations and others. But tell everybody a little bit about your business, about what you do, you know, how they can get in contact with you if they're looking for more information, and the services that you provide.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So as my name tag says, I do go by the Violet Mage in terms of the metaphysical.
Yeah.
You can find me at thevioletmage.com. My Facebook page is also the Violet Mage, so that's where you can find me. And then I'm a Reiki master. I also do read tarot. And then as we started out the conversation, I'm also a galactic ambassador. So this is
Right.
one of the biggest things I do.
Yeah.
I don't have a Starseed class scheduled at the moment. I'll have to reach out for that to Terry.
Absolutely. Yeah. If
I
you
tend to
do
have them
that,
physically at Soul and Synergy here in Eau Claire.
okay. I would love, and there's been a couple of classes too. I've been trying to talk Terry into doing online, and I always watch. I'm like, oh, he doesn't have that one yet.
Yeah.
Because, for those of us that live in the middle of nowhere, online classes are great.
And so far, all but the first Starseed class I do have through Zoom.
I love it.
I usually sit at the shop because there's people who are in the area who want to come in.
Okay.
But then, yeah. And for those who can't quite make it in, or even on the other side of the world.
Right.
Because I had somebody interested from Wales.
Wow.
Cool.
Very
Like,
interesting.
Yep, Zoom it is.
Yeah. And when you're looking to do another class, please let us know. I'd love to share that. It is a very interesting topic, Michael. I was very interested. I thank you so much, Craig, for your time and for
Oh, and
coming
thank you for
on
having
and
me
talking
on.
to us.
Oh, this was
Yeah.
such a great time. Thank you.
Oh, it was so much fun. And we will definitely be in touch because you have lots to share and educate with us. And, maybe when you are feeling ambitious, you could come on and read some tarot for the viewers.
Sure, I could definitely do that.
Yeah, that would be great.
I do have something that I found
Oh,
that, if you don't mind, if I'd
absolutely.
be able to read it.
Yes.
So this is from Stargate Atlantis.
Okay.
There are stairs that lead up to the Stargate that
Okay.
they have inscriptions on them. And a few people probably have translated it out. And I think the words are very profound
Okay.
and speak to this topic. I mean, all topics, but especially this
Right.
one. And I think they're very fitting. We hold these words as true. A heart-filled welcome to those of other worlds visiting our world for the first time. Welcome again to those returning. You have been gone too long, and your absence has weighed heavy on our souls. We are whole again now that you are among us, and we celebrate you being here again. As we leave for distant worlds, we pledge to respect the lands of our neighbors and to act with integrity as ambassadors of our people in peacetime. Travelers with open hearts will always be welcome, and refugees from tyranny may seek shelter under our roof. Our people will lay down their lives to protect the weak and the just. Let this be our pledge to the inhabitants of this world, and all worlds we may ever know. Always come in peace, as we strive to go in peace, and you will be welcome in our shores forever.
That is. I thank you for sharing that. That
You're
is
welcome.
beautiful. I appreciate that. And wow, that's powerful. So people, keep your minds open. It is very profound, Michael. It is very profound. Keep your minds open. We never know what's out there, and just be open to those possibilities. And we look forward to talking to you again in the future, Craig. Thank you so much. I hope you have a good night.
Thank you. You too, Stephanie.
All right, bye-bye. I'm so glad that you guys tuned in. I really hope you enjoyed sitting down and talking with Craig. Topics like this, I think a lot of times, we go down these rabbit holes, and they they are a lot to take in. In the hour that we've been on here and talking, you kind of get lost in the possibilities and in the thought process. But if this is a topic that resonates with you, keep an eye out. I do want to have Craig back on, but start educating yourself. Reach out to Craig, hop on his page, check that out, and see what resonates with you. And always strive to educate yourself in those areas, because there is a reason things will stick out and will resonate with you. So I feel that that is very important. Before we get to the card pull and ending the show, I wanted to tell you what we have coming up next month. And I'll be posting a schedule on my Facebook page soon of new and upcoming guests through March. Actually, I'm scheduled out quite a ways. But next month, we have Tim Bear coming on. Tim is fantastic. I met him in some of my metaphysical classes, and he is an author. And together with his wife, who had transitioned, he wrote a book called Ever Near. And in that, he kind of transcripted letters from her to him to help him heal, and through that process, and to help educate. So I'm very excited to have him on and have him come and talk about his book and his experience. And then later in that month, we have experiencer. I like that. She doesn't refer to herself as a psychic. She likes to be called an experiencer. Jennifer Jacobs. She is the founder of Eclipse Paranormal, Women and Men of the Paranormal Celebration, and she's the Regional 2 Director of the North American Dogman Project. So she has a wide topic of things she's going to be coming on and talking to you guys about. A lot of experience with cryptids and paranormal. So I hope you will tune in later next month for that. And I'm really excited. In March, we're bringing it back. I talked to Ellie. We're bringing back In the Mix. We're very excited to come sit and just talk with you about different topics, bring you weird news, anything really. If you guys remember from the previous Chat with Charlie show when we would do In the Mix, it's exactly that. You are in the mix of all things metaphysical, paranormal, cryptid, and such. And that's kind of how the conversations go. So I hope you will stay tuned. I appreciate you tuning in all the time. I'm very grateful for you. No, Michael, we can't talk about the Steelers. That hurt my soul. Although I will share, a lot of you know that I live in Wisconsin, and I was very happy to see the Packers kicked out of the playoffs, because if my team sit in the bench, so should the Packers. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. I still love you guys, even if you're Packer fans. All right. Wisdom of the Oracle is where I pulled cards from. And actually, Spirit gave us a lot. They gave us 3, and then they gave me 2 grouped together. Oh, thank you, Pamela, for tuning in. And Salone, I wanted to wish you a happy birthday. I saw Lee had posted that. So happy birthday to you and wonderful wishes. Hi, Barbara. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to read these 3 together first, and then the other 2, because I have a feeling that they are grouped together for a reason. All right, so you could pick any of the cards. Technically, there are 5. Ooh, you're a Giants fan, Michael? Yeah. All right, maybe some of these cards are for you to give you support. Just kidding. Okay. You can pick any of the groupings. You could pick 1 through 5. Whatever you want to do, whatever floats your boat works for me. So the first card that I have, I am reading it as inverted. And this is the never-ending story. And so typically when I see this card and it's flipped upright, I always get that feeling of stuck in that perpetual hamster wheel, right? But with this, I still kind of get that feeling, even though it's inverted, but I feel like some of this is of your own keeping. And what I mean by of your own keeping is I feel like you have that opportunity to either step out of that mindset, to step out of that space, whatever that negative repetition and pattern is in your life right now. You have that ability to choose to step out. But sometimes it is easier to operate within the chaos, because that's what we know. That's what we understand. And so when you're used to that chaos, even though it might feel stressful, that's what you're used to. And when you step out and you get that stillness, or you start making progress, you start freaking out, you're waiting for the next shoe to drop, and it really sets you out of balance. And so it doesn't feel right, because it doesn't resonate because you've been in that chaos for so long. And I feel like that is what this is speaking to. All right, Michael, you can step out of this. We got you. Call. We can have a session together and just chat. I'm here for you. But just know that you can step out. Spirit is starting to bring that to an end, and they're going to start bringing in players to help you step aside and be able to do that. And then you know why I know? This card tells me this card is a leg up, right? The support. Polar bear carrying the baby polar bear on the back. They are sending you support. Support is around you. The problem is when you're stuck in that chaos, a lot of times we don't want to be vulnerable. We don't want to ask for help. And so that, again, it prohibits us from making that change. One of the hardest things for me to learn to do was to be vulnerable and to ask for help, or to say, you know what, that doesn't resonate with me anymore. I'm moving on this side of my journey. That is okay. We are here to have our experience with everybody else. We can't have our experience if we are afraid to get up. I can't sit in this chair all night. I have to be willing to get up. I have to be willing to say, you know what, I'm struggling a little bit right now. Let's work together. Or to ask for help. It doesn't make you weak. I have learned you're actually a stronger person when you're able to say, I can't do this alone. Don't be afraid to say that. And I feel like this is coming in, some reconnection. So with whatever is going on, this is no place like home. And to me, that tells me not necessarily home, but a home base, a reconnection, whether that's a reconnection with self, a reconnection with people in your lives, but a reconnection. That's going to be very important for this process and where spirit is bringing you through and to right now. So I hope those cards made sense for you. A real quick recap on them. You're stuck in a pattern, never-ending story. A leg up, help is coming, and no place like home. Do not be afraid to connect. All right, these two cards. Oh, these cards. Oh, thank you, Michael. I'm glad that they resonated. I hope it helps. These two cards feel a little bit lighter to me. The first card, I like this. Breathe. Right? Just be still. And I actually feel this. I have so much going on between work and being here for you guys and my side business, going back to school, being mom, being a coach. There's a lot going on. Sometimes we forget that we have to take a minute and just be still. Let those lists that are running around in your head, kick them out. Don't give them space for 2 minutes. 2 minutes is not going to wreck your day or wreck your schedule. Be still. But in that stillness, I want you to start connecting back to yourself, connecting to spirit, connecting to your higher self. Because if it might be, Dina, I love when they give me my own messages when I'm trying to give them to other people, because then they think I'm listening, is just taking that moment, right? And I'm a big one for, I'm fine, it's fine, everything's okay. Take and give yourself that second of breathing space, okay? Because it might be fine. You might be able to warrior through, but you can only do that for so long. So every day, even just that short minute or two, give yourself that minute, sit quietly. That's why I get up early. I don't like getting up early, but it's quiet in the morning. I can sit, I give myself a cup of coffee, and I just connect. Make sure you are taking your time to do that, a little bit of self-care. And I like this one. Soulmates. And this really, and this is something that has been heavy on my mind, is spirit pulling me to write a post, which is coming. I just haven't sat down and put pen to paper, but about love. Love, we bring it up. If you say, oh, I love you, and people think, oh my gosh, it turns into something sexual or something, I don't know, just overwhelming, or it can mess things up. But love at its basic level is just caring. I'm one of these people that I tell my friends I love them all the time. I'll say, I love you, have a good night. It's not anything beyond this deep caring. And I think in society, we have lost that connection. We have lost the ability to just say, I love you, and not want anything back, not be expected to give more, but just to show that basis of caring. And we really need to get back to that. And that's with those soulmates, right? That's with those people that we care about, those people that are coming into our lives to help us and support us. Show that affection. Don't hold affection back. That's one of the few things that we can give, and we can give freely. And so just make sure that the people in your lives know that you care about them and that you love them. That's very important. Thank you all once again for tuning in, sitting and talking to me for the last hour. And Craig, we really enjoyed our time with you. And I'll see you all back in 2 weeks right here with Tim, where we discuss his book, Ever Near. Have a good night.